here?
Never been allowed to touch it. And right now, just outside those castle walls, the boy destined to carry it doesn't have the faintest idea what's coming for him. At the beginning of the movie, we're introduced to 10-year-old Prince Adam, son of King Randor and Queen Marlena. If you're picturing a fearless little warrior in training, picture the exact opposite. Adam is small for his age, quiet, and far more interested in sketching pictures of the royal guard than actually training with them. His best friend isn't even human. It's Cringer, a nervous, easily spooked tiger cub who's scared of pretty much everything. Every morning, his mother practically has to drag him to combat practice. At the training grounds, we're introduced to Duncan, Eternia's man-at-arms and commander of the royal guard, and, conveniently, the father of Adam's best friend, Tila. Adam tries to make the drills bearable by joking around with Tila, the way any 10-year-old would. But King Randor is watching, and he decides this is the perfect moment to teach his son a very public lesson. In front of the entire guard, Randor tells Adam that the world has no patience for weakness, especially not for a boy who might one day have to defend the whole planet. It cuts deep. Adam walks off alone, and Tila follows to check on him. But before either of them can say much, they notice the sorceress staring up at the sky like she's just seen something impossible. She has. A massive enemy fleet drops out of the clouds above Eternos and opens fire without warning. Within seconds, the capital turns into a war zone. Enemy soldiers and monstrous creatures flood the streets, tearing through the royal army before Eternia's strongest fighters can even reach the front line. Duncan is tasked with getting the royal family out, guiding King Randor, Queen Marlena, Adam, and Tila through the chaos, until Trapjaw blocks their escape, a hulking enemy soldier whose entire arm has been replaced with a mechanical weapon built for exactly this kind of fight. Duncan stays behind to buy the others time, and for a moment, it actually looks like he's winning. He wounds Trapjaw, forces him back. But Trapjaw was built for this, and the fight turns fast. He leaves Duncan for dead, plants an explosive nearby, and keeps moving. Tila isn't willing to leave her father behind. She sprints back into the danger zone, manages to shake him awake, and the two of them dive out a window just as the bomb goes off behind them. Whether they make it out is left completely unclear. Meanwhile, Randor, Marlena, and Adam are almost at the bridge leading to Castle Grayskull when enemy soldiers box them in. That's when we're introduced to their leader, Skeletor, a skull-faced sorcerer who's apparently been building this entire invasion in total secrecy for years. Randor knows immediately what this moment costs. He tells Adam to be strong, says goodbye to his wife and son, and stays behind to give them one last window to escape. He loses. Skeletor cuts him down and takes his crown. But here's the detail that should actually terrify you. The crown was never the target. Skeletor wants the sword. Marlena and Adam reach the castle just ahead of him, where the sorceress is already waiting. Without hesitation, she places the sword of power directly into Adam's hands, and tells him he has to get it as far from Eternia as possible, somewhere Skeletor can never reach it. She tears open a portal to send him through, but Skeletor breaks in at that exact moment and lunges for Marlena. As the sorceress holds him back, she screams one final warning at Adam: never let go of that sword, because one day, it's the only thing that will bring him home again. He doesn't get a say in it. The energy from the portal rips the sword straight out of his hands mid-jump, and Adam tumbles through space completely alone, crash landing on a planet he's never even heard of, Earth, his mother's home world. Fast forward 15 years. Adam is fully grown now, living a painfully ordinary life in Oklahoma City. On a date, he tries, and fails spectacularly, to explain where he's actually from, and the woman across the table decides she's had enough before dessert even arrives. Back home, his housemate Hussein has heard the Eternia stories more times than he can count, and gently suggests it might be time to let all of it go. Everyone around Adam is convinced his whole childhood was just a coping mechanism for losing his parents. Eternia, to them, was never real. Adam has never once believed that. His apartment is covered wall to wall in maps, sketches, and fragments of a home nobody else believes existed. Every spare hour goes into the same obsession. Scouring the internet for the sword, convinced that finding it is the only way back. It's costing him. His boss at the HR firm where he works pulls him aside, tells him he's genuinely good at his job, but warns him that if the obsession doesn't stop, neither does his employment. And then, almost like the universe decided to test him, Adam gets a message from a total stranger claiming they've found his sword. He doesn't hesitate. He rushes straight to a comic book store, and sure enough, there it is, the actual sword of power, reduced to nothing more than a display prop bolted onto a statue. Adam wrenches it free, raises it over his head and forces out the words he barely remembers from childhood. Nothing happens. He runs out humiliated, sword in hand, and that night, alone in his apartment, he begs it to do something. Anything. Still nothing. By morning, the police are at his door, arresting him for theft. And this is where the movie stops being quiet. While Adam sits handcuffed in the back of a squad car stuck in traffic, people around him start screaming and scattering. A massive, ape-like creature, Beastman, is tearing through the highway, and he's heading directly for Adam. He very nearly kills him, right there in the middle of traffic. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, someone cuts Beastman off mid-attack and 15 years later, standing right in front of him. There's no time for a reunion. She explains, fast, that she and Beastman have both been tracking the exact same signal, the swords. She wants to know why it took him this long to raise it, and Adam has to admit something humiliating. He lost the sword the second he landed on Earth, and has spent 15 years without it. Beastman gets back up and comes at them again, but Tila drags Adam to her ship, and together they blast through a portal, straight back to Eternia. Adam is overjoyed to be home again, for about 5 seconds. Tila warns him to brace himself before they land, and the second they do, he understands exactly why. Eternos isn't the glittering city from his memory anymore. It's a ruin. Skeletor has been ruling with an iron fist for 15 straight years, and the moment Adam asks about his parents, Tila has to give him the truth. Skeletor took them the night of the invasion, and nobody has seen them since. Their arrival doesn't stay secret for long. One of Skeletor's spies, Triclops, spots them almost immediately. Back at Snake Mountain, Beastman reports that Tila escaped with the sword, and Evil Lyn, Skeletor's most dangerous lieutenant, is already hunting her down. Skeletor himself makes something very clear in this scene. His army is massive, his sorcery is real, and the Staff of Havoc makes him dangerous. But none of it makes him truly unstoppable. Only the sword can do that. Tila leads Adam to a hidden underground base, where what's left of Eternia's resistance has been hiding out. And here's the problem. Nobody there believes he's actually the Lost Prince. To the surviving members of the Royal Guard, he's too soft, too strange, nothing like the warrior they were promised would one day return. Adam, on the other hand, recognizes every single one of them instantly, right down to the ridiculous nicknames he gave them as a kid scribbling in his old notebooks. Fisto, Ram Man, Mechanic, Moss Man. The heroes aren't buying any of it. They confiscate the sword and lock both Adam and Tila in a holding cell while they figure out what to do next. Inside that cell, Adam gets 2 surprises at once. The first is a heavily intoxicated man barely holding himself upright. Duncan, alive after everything, but completely hollowed out by guilt. The second is a robot performing menial chores like household staff, and Adam quickly realizes she's actually an advanced combat unit stripped of her real purpose. He convinces her, Roboto, that she was built to be a warrior, not a servant. That's genuinely all it takes. She breaks all 3 of them out of the cell. They don't get far before Skeletor's forces storm the base. In the chaos, Ram Man tosses the sword back to Adam and tells him, whatever happens, don't let Skeletor get his hands on it. The group fights their way toward the hangar, only for Trapjaw to cut them off completely. Adam actually tries talking his way out of it first, leaning on, of all things, conflict resolution skills from his old HR job. It does not go well. Trapjaw nearly kills him on the spot. With no other option left, Adam raises the sword and finally remembers the words. By the power of Grayskull. What happens next changes everything. Adam transforms into He-Man, and for the first time in this entire story, he isn't the soft, disappointing prince anymore. He tears Trapjaw's cannon arm clean off and uses it to blast a path straight through the enemy soldiers. The group escapes in Tila's ship, but Skeletor's forces chase them across the sky, and the ship takes so much damage it eventually crashes deep in the forest below. When Adam comes to, there's a falcon perched calmly on top of the sword, and it tells him, quite matter-of-factly, that he's destined to save Eternia before flying off and leaving him with far more questions than answers. Tila finds him not long after, and alcohol don't just evaporate because he's shaved. Adam sits with Duncan anyway and admits something that's been eating at him. The violence he unleashed as He-Man actually scared him. He wonders out loud if there's supposed to be another way to do this. Duncan tells him the fighting was never about anger. It's about protecting the people who can't protect themselves. Later, while the group salvages supplies from the wreck, Adam admits the power is starting to make him feel like someone he's never been before, confident. Tila, catching him off guard, confesses she thought about him every single day after he vanished. Adam admits he did too, and the moment turns awkward fast, the exact kind of almost something neither of them quite knows what to do with. If Adam wants them back, he brings the sword. If he refuses, Skeletor kills them both. Adam is furious, and the decision is instant. He's going to Snake Mountain, not to hand over the sword, but to kill Skeletor and get his family out himself. Tila warns him this is basically a suicide mission on Skeletor's own turf, and Adam refuses to be talked out of it. Seeing that he's going with or without them, Tila, Duncan, and Roboto all choose to go with him instead. They cross a stretch of volcanic wasteland to reach Snake Mountain, and Adam doesn't bother sneaking in. He walks straight up to the front gate and demands to see Skeletor face to face. Bad move. Skeletor's guards separate the group instantly, dragging Tila, Duncan, and Roboto off in one direction while marching Adam alone straight into the throne room. And there's Skeletor, standing out on a balcony with King Rander held right at the edge. Adam draws the sword, but Skeletor was ready for this the entire time. He summons Goatman, Triclops, Spiker, and a full squad of soldiers, ordering all of them to take the sword by force. Adam fights every single one of them at once, holding his ground and cutting a path straight toward Skeletor. He almost makes it, and then Evil Lyn steps in and freezes him solid with dark magic, leaving him helpless to watch as his father just in time to hold him as he dies. And in his final moments, Rander finally says the thing Adam has needed to hear his entire life. He never wanted his son to become someone else. He only pushed him so hard because he was terrified of what the world would do to him if he stayed soft. He apologizes for never saying it sooner, and then he's gone. Skeletor doesn't even give Adam a second to grieve before knocking him unconscious. Adam wakes up in a dungeon cell, back in his ordinary human body, and finds Queen Marlena already waiting there. Together they grieve Rander's death while, somewhere above them, Skeletor is already celebrating his win. He raises the Sword of Power, speaks the incantation himself, fully expecting to become the most powerful being in the universe. Nothing happens. Furious, Skeletor demands an explanation, and Evil Lyn reveals the catch. The sword has to be returned to its altar inside Castle Grayskull again. Duncan finds him there, and, for the first time, opens up about his own guilt, how he failed to protect the royal family 15 years earlier, and how he spent every single day since hiding from that failure at the bottom of a bottle, mostly because he couldn't bear to face his own daughter. Adam reminds him of something Duncan taught him back when he was a kid. Falling down is never the end of the story. It's just the moment right before you get back up. It's exactly what they both needed to hear. Then Tila arrives with a reunion nobody saw coming. Adam gathers the other prisoners and finally says it out loud. He really is Prince Adam. He tells them that even after 15 years alone on Earth, with everyone around him convinced he'd lost his mind, he never once let go of Eternia or the people who kept fighting for it without him. It works. His words light a fire under the entire group. Ramman points out the obvious problem. The prison bars are unbreakable. Adam has a better idea. The stone holding those bars in place isn't. He has Duncan restore Roboto's combat programming. She blasts the stone apart, and the prisoners force the doors open together. They overpower the guards, steal enemy ships, and race back toward Eternos, while Skeletor has already for good. A full-scale battle erupts across the ruined capital. While the Royal Guard clashes with Skeletor's army in the streets below, Adam, Tila, Duncan, Roboto, and Cringer make a run for the bridge leading to Grayskull. Duncan and Roboto peel off to hold back reinforcements, buying Adam and Tila the time they need to get inside, but not before Duncan and Tila finally, properly make peace with each other. Adam turns to Cringer next, pushing him to stop running from what scares him and become something more. Cringer steps up, nods straight into it, and throws himself clear a split second before the whole thing explodes. Inside the castle, Adam finally faces Skeletor one-on-one. Skeletor blasts him with the Staff of Havoc. Adam blocks it with the sword, and the sword shatters completely on impact. Skeletor doesn't waste the opening. He tells Adam he's nothing without it, grabs him, and drags him into a waking nightmare built entirely out of his own worst memories. The lonely years on Earth, the fear he'd never belong anywhere, everyone insisting his whole childhood was a delusion. Skeletor twists the knife, telling him Eternia was always just a dream too big for him to ever live up to. Then he drives the broken blade straight on, and with it, the power. But she reveals something he never knew. The sword was never the actual source of anything. It was only ever a conduit. Adam himself was the one chosen to carry the power all along, and not because past champions were valued for raw strength. Adam was chosen for something rarer: compassion, empathy, and the drive to protect people who can't protect themselves. That's what makes him worthy. It was never really about the sword at all. The sorceress heals him, and Adam wakes up back inside Grayskull. In front of everyone watching, he reaches up, pulls the shattered blade straight out of his own chest, and his wound closes instantly. The sword reforms in his hand on its own. He speaks the words again and transforms, early on, claiming he's still holding back out of fear, and he's right. Adam overwhelms Skeletor, and after offering him one last real chance and watching him throw it away, Adam crushes the Staff of Havoc with his bare hands. The dark magic powering Skeletor collapses instantly, leaving nothing behind but an empty skull. Evil Lyn and Beastman slip away in the chaos. Outside, Duncan finds Robato's severed head still faintly powered on, down, but not gone for good. Eternia's people flood the streets to celebrate the liberation of Eternos as the heroes finally reunite. And in one detail, most people miss on a first watch. Evil Lyn sneaks back later and steals Skeletor's empty skull. Which tells you this story is very much not finished. 6 months later, Eternos has been fully rebuilt, and Queen Marlena has taken the throne to lead her people forward. Roboto has been repaired and rebuilt too. Even Hussein, Adam's old Earth roommate, has made the trip to Eternia, still completely stunned that every single story Adam ever told him turned out to be real. Adam looks out to watch the heroes from his childhood drawings turn out to be real, flesh and blood people. Then she asks if he ever made up a nickname for her too, back when he was drawing all those pictures as a kid. He admits he did. Warrior Goddess. Which means, obviously, he must have made one up for himself as well. Embarrassed, he finally says it out loud. He-Man. Before either of them can enjoy the moment, Roboto picks up a distress call from a village under attack. Tila doesn't even blink. Sounds like a job and you're still not subscribed. That's on you, not me. It's genuinely the only thing standing between this channel and total collapse, so hit that button before you go anywhere. And while you're down there, drop a comment and tell me this. If some guy showed up in your life claiming to be a lost space prince with a magic sword, would you have believed him, or were you team get away from me, right alongside his date? I want to know.
Till next time!